What's up and welcome to My Point of View. I am your fat and opinionated host, and we know that Bryan Kohberger was in the classroom as his classmates, fellow college students, talked about the Idaho 4 case. They would talk about all types of cases in that classroom. And from what has been reported, Bryan, in the days after doing what he allegedly did, he became more outgoing than before. And I've gone over this on multiple channels. I think that Bryan found a new sense of confidence. I think he had a sense of relief. And I feel as if he had a sense of power for the first time in his life after doing what he allegedly did. But we know that even though he was more outgoing after the Idaho 4 slayings, when they brought up the topic in class, that was the only moment in which Bryan kind of went inward. He would become silent. He did not really participate in those discussions in class much. But I know from the type of person we're hearing Bryan is, I can only imagine that he wanted to talk about it. We've heard that Bryan felt the need in conversation to show you how smart he is. He felt the need for everyone to know that he's one of the smartest people in class. He felt the need to be right. So I can guarantee you all, it probably ate at him. Sitting in that classroom quietly, it was probably eating at him because he probably wanted to talk about it more than anyone else. And for every person that has come forward with a story about Bryan Kohberger, I guarantee you all there are 10 more who have not come forward yet and may never come forward. And I don't blame them because the internet completely rips these people apart for no reason. If someone has a random story about Bryan Kohberger from their past, they should be able to come tell their story without the true crime community absolutely digging into them. It's almost as if a certain portion of the true crime community needs sacrificial lambs to sacrifice at the altar of true crime. They have to find people to just blame for random stuff and to harass. And I don't understand why people are that way, but I think some people are just miserable. I would like people to feel comfortable coming forward with whatever stories they have. And I wonder if I was wondering if Bryan had talked to anyone about this Idaho 4 situation, and now it has been confirmed that Bryan actually had a conversation about this with one of his neighbors. Let's go ahead and dig into the details. A neighbor of Bryan Kohberger's in Pullman, Washington, said the suspect in the unaliving of 4 University of Idaho students spoke to him about the unaliving days after they occurred. The neighbor asked not to be identified, which was probably a good idea for the reasons I just said. He brought it up in conversation, the neighbor says. He asked if I had heard about the situation, which I did, and then he said, yeah, seems like they have no leads. Seems like it was a crime of passion. At the time of our conversation, it was only a few days after it happened, so there wasn't much details out. So it was only a brief conversation, but I wonder if this neighbor could go back and really remember the details of the conversation, because I wonder if Bryan accidentally talked about more details than was actually available to the public. You know what I mean? I wonder in these conversations that Bryan had with this guy and may have had with others, did he reveal things that weren't really public information yet? I wonder if people can go back into their memory and really think, like, did Bryan say a little too much then or not, you know? But the need to talk to people about it, like, you know, like, if I just did something like this, the last thing I want to do is go, hey, neighbor, how are you doing today? You heard about what happened over there? Yeah, crime of passion. Not me. It wasn't me. It's really creepy and weird, but like I said, I can guarantee you all he felt the need to talk about it to someone. And obviously it wasn't anyone in that classroom as the conversations were being had about it around him. So I wonder what outlet he used. You know, like, I wonder if he had writings inside of his home and various things like that. But from this brief encounter that he had with a neighbor, he felt the need to say it looks like a crime of passion. And some people will take that and they'll hang on to that as if they're believing Bryan Kohberger in that moment, but I don't believe him one bit. Knowing that Kohberger said that, it almost makes me feel like the exact opposite. And we've been going over this for a while now on this channel and on my main channel, Cinema Shogun. What was Bryan's motive here? Why did he do this? At first, they were exploring connections between Bryan and the Idaho 4. Now, one of the lawyers has come out and said for the Gonzalez family and says there was no connection, that none of them knew of Bryan. So if there is no connection, then it's not really a crime of passion. But I've been telling you all, looking at Bryan's education, it seems like this dude was obsessed with this type of stuff. And it looks to me like he was planning on carrying this out, regardless of who he carried it out against, the act against. You understand? So, I don't believe it was necessarily a crime of passion. But I do believe there has to be some connection. There's a reason as to why Bryan chose these people, or a reason as to why he chose that house. But the need for him to say, oh yeah, it looks like a crime of passion, I think in Bryan's mind, he felt as if it would look that way. And it does. You know, it would make you think that. And maybe, hey, maybe that's why he walked right past DM. Maybe he walked right past DM and he wanted to leave a couple of people unscathed and unharmed for a reason. Because that makes it look even more like it's targeted. It makes it look like even more of an act of passion. If you go into a home, you take out 4 people and then you leave 2 and you walk right past one of them. So I think that there's a possibility that Bryan was planting these seeds, hoping that one day they would sprout, if that makes sense to you all. He was planting these seeds throughout his crime, hoping to make it look like, oh, this looks like it was targeted. This looks like an act of passion, when in reality, it was some random guy that did not know these people. He just was a freaking weirdo that watched them for months and did this to them. But hopefully, the details will come out. Bryan was in court today. The preliminary hearing will be in June, so we have a long ways to go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all think about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I will talk to you all in the next video.